be my wife. I will be your man, your protector, your best friend. Humble life is ending. Hey y'all, before we dive in, can you do me a really quick favor? I don't ask for much, but I am asking if you can please follow, subscribe, rate, review, share, all of the things to help this podcast grow and for more people to find us and find a way back to themselves. I would really appreciate it. All right, now that we got some of the housekeeping out of the way, welcome to Tell You the Truth. I'm your host and truth fairy, Brittany Sharpton. Think of me as your no BS big sister. We're shedding the shoulds and choosing alignment over approval. This podcast is for women who are done pretending, done performing, and ready to live in their truth, fully, freely, for real. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, settle in, and let's get real. Because to tell you the truth, our stories deserve to be heard. Let's get started. This episode, funny enough, actually started as a voice note, and that's why it sounds like I just woke up. It was early Sunday morning, and I started talking because something was on my mind and I wanted to get it out. It was supposed to be just something short, but I was talking for over an hour, and I said, why not just make this a podcast episode? So excuse the super early morning, slightly crackly voice. I hope you enjoy it. So there's been something that's been on my mind for a while that I wanted to talk about. And honestly, I've thought this for many, many years, but I've never said anything because I feared that me being honest and speaking my mind would be met with very harsh criticism, particularly people saying, you're jealous, you're a hater, you're saying these things because that's something that you don't have and cannot get. But I want to talk about it anyway because something someone said just the other day brought this thought up, and I'm like, I've never fully expressed this, and this is my truth, my belief, and I was just curious to see what other people thought. I just wanted to put it out here. Being married is not a flex. Being married is not a privilege. Being married is not an accomplishment. I am so tired of people trying to make single women, especially single Black women, feel less than because they are not a wife. And I'm only saying women because I'm not a man, so I don't know what men talk about it in terms of like hierarchy or status for husbands. It is quite literally asinine to me that people genuinely believe that because they are legally, and if you're religiously, spiritually bound to this person, that you are all of a sudden superior to women who are not. That now you are, and I'm using air quotes because quite literally these were things that have been told to me, privileged, an accomplishment in certain circles, and especially I would say in like high society Black networks, and probably all, being a wife is better. That has just been so wild to me. Like I can't, and I keep saying I can only speak from a perspective of a Black woman. So I've been in plenty of other circles, so I know this is probably a lot of crossover regardless of what race you are. And the reason that I can say this and stand on, as the young folks say, stand on big business, is because if I sincerely, simply wanted to be married, I could have been done that. I can do that right now. There have been more than a couple of times over the years where I have had opportunities to be married, but I chose not to for various reasons. Right now, if my sole goal simply was to log on to the Links Incorporated membership directory and fill out the connecting link field to put something in so I can, I don't know, feel better about myself, blend in, be like everybody else, or I don't know, I can do that. I'm a member of the Girlfriends, the equivalent of connecting link, which for people who don't know is what they call a spouse, is called boyfriends for the girlfriends. So in the Links Incorporated, your spouse is your connecting link. In the Girlfriends, your spouse is your boyfriend. I'm a part of both organizations. And if I quite literally, if I simply wanted to just say, wow, like being a wife puts me at a higher status. Being a wife is a privilege. It's an accomplishment. It's a flex. And I want to make sure that I look good because I'm a certain age and wow, I can't believe, how dare you be single? I mean, you haven't reached the mountaintop because look at you, Brittany, you are unwed. Shame on you. Damn, that sucks. Okay, let me go find a man and get married. So if I wanted to fill those things out, I could have done that and I can do that now. And just to be abundantly clear, the reason I say this is not a flex is because I believe most people, if that's all they wanted, can do that. No shade or maybe shade, especially with a lot of these men now, all they're looking for is a roommate who they can sleep with. There's a woman, she's there, y'all are splitting the bills or subsidizing the bills, having sex. Not saying that you don't enjoy each other's company, traveling, going out to eat, going to all the events, dressing up, looking good. Sure, like, but that is not worth it enough for me. An accomplishment would be if you are in a genuinely, authentically happy and healthy, communicative relationship. That, in my humble opinion, would be a flex or an accomplishment. And I don't just mean that in a romantic sense. In any relationship capacity, a friendship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship, even relationships within your family. Because that takes work. That takes every day, especially over the years, the older and older we get and the more independent we get and the more less reliant we are on people, to wake up every day and choose to be with someone who is completely different from you, just, genetically, life experiences, and still choose to be in a genuinely happy and healthy relationship. That is an accomplishment. And I say that probably more so from like a friendship lens, like I said, even within your family dynamic or with a man or a woman. That may be a flex, but simply saying, oh, I'm a wife is not. I'm just so tired of people trying to make other folks feel less than. Like there's quite literally a hierarchy, whether it's spoken or unspoken. It's like single, girlfriend, engaged, fiance, wife. And I'm only speaking from the perspective of a woman. Single woman, girlfriend, fiance, wife. It's like, wow, I have climbed the social status ladder and I've reached the mountaintop because, yeah, girl, I went from single, I got a boyfriend, I got proposed to, now I'm married, I'm a wife. And think that's fabulous and fantastic and wonderful if that's what you want, but that does not make you better. It doesn't make you, it does not make the worth of you superior and the worth of any other woman who is not in that position, whether by choice or by circumstance. That's asinine to me that that's even like a concept. Like, there have been people in my life who, when they get married, quite literally will say something like, "Oh, I can't hang out with you because I only hang out with married people. Like, I'm, you're still single." Like, oh my gosh, you got that scarlet letter, that S. Girl, you got that single. I'm not trying to catch that. I can only hang out with married people. Now, of course, I'm oversimplifying this because I've heard all the other, not arguments, but conversations around the whys. I get that shit. But the reason why I say it's crazy, because I say my very closest friends, and I appreciate them so much, they don't treat me like that. I have some friends who I were closer to before that I'm not close to now, especially after the devastating, deeply personal and lifetime of grief pain that I have gone through. That made it abundantly clear, like, who was actually a friend and who versus who is someone that I've known for a very long time and hang out with occasionally. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm saying all this to say, stop. I can't tell someone to stop doing something, but I wish that society or individuals would stop that bullshit. I mean, and going back to my appreciation for my friends who, like, I'm thinking of one really, really good friend that I speak to often. Her and her husband are very successful. They have a beautiful family. They have been married for a good amount of time. She will keep it 100 with me. This shit ain't all it's cracked up to be. And it's not about her bashing her husband, because she's never, ever, ever once done that. She respects her partner. But she's not going to sit up here and try to make it seem like she's in a superior situation than I am. Like, she's never done that shit. I have another friend who's more recently married. She don't do that stuff either. We quite literally have the same relationship. If and when our schedules allow, we can still hang out. There's no, "Oh, I'm married. Girl, oh no, me and my man, we can only hang out with married couples. Oh my gosh, no, I'm not allowed to travel with you. I'm not allowed to do that," because whether it's spoken or unspoken, it's just so weird to me. And on another level, like, a lot of these women, I would never trade places to be in your position. And I'm sure they would say the same thing with me, especially with what I have gone through. I don't blame them. I wouldn't trade circumstances either. So it's a personal thing, but it's just wild that you're one, inferior. You are made to feel less than. You're made to feel like you have not accomplished this. Like, this is an accomplishment. Like, why do we have to, like, center men on an achievement? Which brought me to another thought. When I think about some of the women I most respect and admire, I had this list in my head. There's a long list, but I'm just thinking of 3 top of mind right now. One, whether you love her or not, I've always respected and admired Oprah. I think Issa Rae is dope as hell, and I'm so inspired by her journey of her literally taking a dream from her head and just deciding to bring it to life. Her Awkward Black Girl series, and look at her now. And another woman who I admire and respect, out of many, Kerry Washington. So I'm just going to use those 3 for the sake of this example. Oprah, Issa Rae, Kerry Washington. What do they all have in common? You very rarely see these women posting or talking about their spouses or their partners. But all 3 of them have shown great love and respect and admiration for these men. Issa is recently married. For a long time, we didn't even know that Carrie had a husband. Oprah's not married to Stedman, but that's been her long-term partner. They never bash men publicly. I mean, I don't know them personally. I would love to. And when they do talk about their partners or show their partners, all you see is great respect, love, and admiration. But their existence and their persona and what they do is not centered around being a wife or being a partner. You can exist without your identity being, hi, I'm this person's wife. You don't have to go online and change your social media bio to Mrs. something or wife this. That's always been like, I don't know. It's really weird to me because I'm definitely not some in the traditional definition, like some feminist. I'm not. But it's weird to me how, especially at this big old age that I am, and any, woman around the same age. Now, if you're like 21 or something, I'm gonna give you a pass because we didn't know what the hell was going on in life back then. But I could just speak from my experience. If all these years I have been an ever-evolving Brittany Sharpton, and all of a sudden, I meet this man. I fall in love with him. We're compatible. We're on the same page. It's healthy. I feel safe. I feel seen. I feel supported. I'm excited. Me being with this person, in my mind, there's so many synergies that I would rather spend the rest of my life with this man than alone. That would signal to me, okay, this is somebody who I would like to marry. Right? Now, all of a sudden, after all these years, I marry this man. We're happy, living our best lives, hopefully and gratefully have a beautiful, healthy family. But now my identity, I'm no longer Brittany Sharpton. I am insert man's name's wife. That's my identity. That's what I identify as. I don't understand. Like, that to me is just not even authentic. Like, it's not even about honor your spouse and trust me, I very much subscribe to traditional roles. Like, I'm totally fine with all that, but I just don't see how that is even, how can you? Like, how can you? Like, you've been this person, but because you have legally joined and, if you're religious, whatever your religious beliefs are, through God or the universe or whoever you worship, whatever, like there's that aspect too. Like, that doesn't mean that you're not your person. That does not mean all of a sudden your worth shoots through the roof because, oh my goodness, I tied the knot. And if that's the case, let's just say hypothetically, I'm wrong. Like, damn, Brittany, she sound real bitter and jealous, and wow, she can't be like me, so she's saying all these things. She should have just gotten with these men that she's referencing over the years, but now you're like old and washed up. I'm just saying some of the stupid bullshit that I see like online or what people will say to me, right? Okay, let's just say that you are right. So since you are of a higher value because you're married, so does that mean that the 50% of people that get divorced, so all of a sudden once you fall from grace, you don't lost your value? Like, where does that average like what's the calculation for that? I just wish, like, your worth as a person is not contingent upon actions like of other people. That's what I guess the core thing that I want to say. And the reason that I mentioned the marriage is because it's still something that people, rightfully so, celebrate so hard and put on this big pedestal. And I know that there's people that say, oh, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and all that shit. I believe all that shit. I'm not saying I don't, but it does not make she who finds her safe, happy, peaceful solitude not a good thing. That's all I'm saying. There can be multiple good things. That's all that I'm saying. And I just wish that narrative would just stop being so prevalent. And I'm not making this shit up, because people who I know probably don't mean any harm, not intentionally, I would hope not, have said this shit to me, to my face. So I'm just appreciative of, I've had conversations with both my dad and my brother, and they even say, Brittany, this shit ain't all it's cracked up to be. And not from a point of bitterness. Like, my dad knows me extremely well. He will say, I understand what the landscape is now. I know it's hard out here. So don't just rush into something because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do, that you have to check this box. And I want to be emphatically clear. Would I love to find a partner who genuinely loves me, who I love, who I want to build a life with? Absolutely. Absolutely. In the bottom of my heart, where I am right now, do I actually think that's going to happen? And it's not about me being negative, but based on my life experiences, the woman that I am, what I have seen, and I've seen a lot, I sincerely don't see that happening. If I got to the point where I'm just like, oh, F it. Yeah, sure. I want to be married. Can that happen? Sure. That's not that difficult. As a matter of fact, to get married is not very hard. Like, it's not hard to do. Who knows? Anything could happen. Maybe I need to do some things to change. Let me be more proactive instead of reactive. Go out more, or be more receptive to different people or places to meet someone. Sure. And I appreciate, like, I really am enjoying this evolving relationship with my brother. We're finally at an age where it's just so refreshing to have these honest, candid conversations about dating and relationships and happiness and life and loss. You know, grief. We talk about everything from the highs of wealth building, entrepreneurship, and legacy, to real heavy shit. Losing loved ones, divorce, racism, just the daily bullshit and the lifelong bullshit that both of us have to experience individually, as a family, as a Black man and Black woman. And I appreciate those conversations. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the most recent person that I dated. And he told me from the jump, Brittany, that's going to get old real quick. He was right. But I told myself, let me do something different than what I would normally do. And like he said, that's going to get old real quick. The men closest to me in my life know me very well. You need somebody who is going to fully see you, who is going to wholeheartedly support you in things that you want to do, who is not only going to be a financial provider, but a provider emotionally, mentally, someone that you can bounce ideas off of, somebody who, I'm an extremely enterprising person, a very creative person, a very outspoken person, if you haven't noticed by now. I can be very much an overthinker. I have anxious tendencies, but I'm probably one of the most loving people that you will ever meet. A very layered person, a very introspective person. So it takes, I believe, and I'm sure other people will say that too, but for me, a very unique person who's able to, I don't want to say handle that. I would think that's a gift to that person, but someone who will not be intimidated, will not be threatened, will not feel insecure in any sort of way, will not feel jealous. I do not think there is anything intimidating about me. But time and time again, I have come across people, you can tell it won't be something overt. It'll be something real subtle that I've already been able to quickly recognize. A level of discomfort or wanting to humble you or feel intimidated or feel a certain way about maybe you, your family, your upbringing, your life experiences, your network, your circle, your lifestyle. And I'm at a point, and I'm so proud of myself, the moment I feel that tinge of any of this where I feel like I have to shrink or hold back or dim my light or edit myself too much, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I look at the situations in the past that I've had where that was not an issue. It wasn't a lot of them. I can think of 2 particular times where people embrace that part, where they want to learn, oh, wow, like that is so impressive, or I respect you so much for that, or man, that was really unfortunate or fucked up or shitty what happened to you or that circumstance. But I respect you so much for being able to get back up and put one foot in front of the other. How did you do that? Or, wow, like that is so cool that your dad did this, or your brother's done this, or your sister's done this, or your mom's done this. Like those situations seem to pan out better because it's not coming from an area of insecurity or, oh my goodness, whether they admit it or not, I may not be good enough for this person. It comes from, that is something that I aspire to do. I want to learn from her and her family and her circle and her friends and her business associates. And I hope that I can teach her something too. And there's a mutual respect there. That to me is healthy. There's love, there's respect, there's no ounce of, I feel less than because that's something that I did not grow up that way. So there's some bitterness in there. And how dare her expect for me to live up to what she grew up like? How dare her expect for me to live up to what her father was able to provide for her? If I was a man, I would be like, shit, I gotta step my game up. Let me step my game up. This is inspiring me to want to rise, not for a woman, but for myself. That's how I would think. That's how I think. But I also know just because I think a certain way doesn't mean someone else does. And that can be frustrating, but we're all different. And now I've gotten off on a tangent, but I just wanted to put out, let us not equate an individual's worth, man, woman, black, white, all the other descriptors that we could come up with based on a union that is contingent upon, there's just so many different variables. Let's not base our worth on that. Let's stop saying this bullshit to ourselves. Let's stop saying it to other people. And now me being petty. Girl, your ass is still working. You're grinding harder than me. Some of y'all are the breadwinners. And another sector of y'all's men's are in people's DMs. How the hell is that a privilege or an accomplishment? I don't understand it. I don't even want to get into that. Because if I was really crazy and messy, or if somebody told me, I shouldn't even say this, but the receipts that I have of people's husbands, receipts, and I'm not talking about just some around the way person. I'm talking about very prominent, highly visible, successful men who I would never in my life want to be married to or flexing that I'm their wives. The receipts that I have for a lot of stuff, baby, your feelings would be hurt, real hurt. I personally don't see, there's no point, there's no benefit to me of exposing that. That's why I'll never understand. And here I am off on a tangent again. There is no benefit to exposing that. I don't understand why men or women ever do that. Like, I'm not that type. I just wouldn't. Maybe if it was like a sibling or like a very, 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 very close friend and I saw their partner doing something, I would tell them. But other than that, that ain't none of my, I stay out of that because normally the bearer of the truth is the one that gets shot. Like they say, don't shoot the messengers. Clearly the messenger has been shot plenty of times. So that's how that adage came about. You are no better because you're married and you're no worse because you're single. Whether it's a chosen situation, circumstantial situation, a forced situation, Your value as a human being is not contingent upon outside sources. That's something that I even have to remind myself of. Your job, your partner, your circumstances, your loss, that doesn't affect who you are. So let's try to focus on improving ourselves and stop with this narrative. I shouldn't even have to have a disclaimer. I've gone through all the benefits, if we're talking like tax benefits or I haven't gone through the list of administrative benefits of marriage, the financial benefits of marriage, the studies that have been done. Of course, I have seen the data. I believe that data. I think that's wonderful. That's great. But that does not mean that still, for me personally, does not mean that you are better. It just doesn't. And I hope for anyone listening that you don't feel pressure, because I did for so many years. If you were to ask me in high school, in college, in my 20s, absolutely. Getting married is a marker of adulthood. It's a marker of success. Like, you've checked off all these boxes. You have gone to the best schools. You've gotten the best grades. You set the curve, top of the class. Go to an excellent, prestigious college. You get a very high-paying, prestigious job. You start a successful business. You've been inducted to every organization that you can possibly think of. You've served on the most wonderful boards. You're highly visible. You run in excellent circles. You do all this stuff, but damn it, you don't have a ring. Oh my goodness. All that other stuff is thrown out the window. Look at you, you unworthy single Black woman. I'm laughing, but honestly, that did bother me for a while. I literally let society let me believe. I started to internalize my worth was connected to a man getting on his knees to propose to me and ask for my hand in marriage. Like, not based on my values, my morals, all of the community service that I have done, all of the good that I feel that I put out to the world. Not all that. That don't mean shit. That don't mean shit if you ain't got a man to want to marry you. How dare you, scarlet letter single woman? Now I'm just harping and harping. I'm going off on some tangent. I do this a lot. I got to stay focused. It sounds like a ramble, but I'm hoping that there are some takeaways for both single people and for married people. Try to be a little bit more self-aware. Fellow single women, please don't let this society make you feel less than. Please don't go into something because you feel this pressure. I felt that for a very long time. I can look back on people that I am embarrassed that I even went out on one date with because I was so concerned with, okay, I've done everything else. Now it's time for me to get married. So in order for you to get married, you have to date. You have to get a boyfriend. In order to get a boyfriend, you have to date. So when I look back on all of the shit that I have tolerated over the years because I felt like I had to fit within a certain box, there was a certain prototype, there was a certain list that you had to check to be seen as worthy, to have a higher rank in society, I just shake my head. But through therapy, through reflection, through more self-trust, through growing increased self-love, I am beginning to forgive myself and am proud of the progress that I have made, but I also have a very, very, very long way to go to unlearn all of that. It takes a shit ton of work to unlearn things that have been forced down our throat for ages, since we were children. Look at all the Disney movies. Like, that is what is, we are quite literally sold. I don't want to say sold a dream, because some of these situations, goddamn, they a nightmare. Let me stop. But that's what we've been taught. That's what we've been told, not just through media, but through our own families. And it's not them trying to lead us astray, but that's what it was. That's what they did. I mean, I grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents were married. We had an excellent upbringing, an insane amount of love, lived in the best neighborhoods, went to the very best schools, were exposed to literally everything under the sun. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I saw growing up. I think all 3 of us turned out pretty well. Let me try to emulate that. I didn't know all the little nuances that go into that. And I also know, if my life does not look the way that I thought it was going to look, that does not make me any less of a woman or any less valuable to this planet, to this society. It doesn't. And that's all that I'm just frustrated about, that's just continuously perpetuated over and over and over again. If I'm ever, I don't know, if life ever decides to like give me a daughter, when she gets old enough, I will make sure, I hope to impart that wisdom on her. And when I have 2 nieces, when they're older, I'm going to let them know. Listen, if this is something that you want, if you do want a partner, you're better off finding the partner in college. That's 1. But 2, if that does not happen, please don't beat yourself up or navigate your life around finding a partner because you feel like that's something that you have to do. Doing it because that's what you want to do, and you sincerely, like I said, being with this person for the rest of my life is better than not. If that is not an emphatic hell yes, do not do it. Now, and it's another thing. I love men. I love being in a man's company. I love the testosterone. I love going out to eat with a man. I love traveling with a man. I don't fix shit, nor do I plan to. I love HGTV. I do some DIY projects because they're fun. I'm not trying to handle all that stuff. I'm very much want to sit in my feminine energy. I hate driving. I don't like traffic. I don't like thinking about things. I like just existing. I love that. Just pragmatically now, I have to support myself. I would love to be a kept woman. I would love to be a stay-at-home partner, stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom. I would love that without 1 ounce of shame. I'm saying all that's to say, I see the value in partnership. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. I see the value, and I would love that. I would love not to handle the things that I have to handle myself. Absolutely. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of my peace, at the expense of my happiness, at the expense of my sanity, at the expense of me having to perform. I'm not going to perform. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to shrink. I'm not going to dim my light. I'm not going to edit myself or over edit myself for a man, for anybody. I'm not going to do that. I've done that in the past. I'm not going to do it. It's just not worth it. All that happens is growing resentment and unhappiness, joy. That's not living in your truth. That's not being authentic and true to yourself. Your loyalty has to be to yourself. Am I sincerely happy, or I know this is something that I have to do because it looks good? I have to be in this situation because that's what I'm supposed to do and it looks good. And if I'm not, then I'm less than. That's not the way to make decisions with anything. And I've done all of that before. I have made decisions based on what would look good, what would look like something that people expect for me to do. Okay, sure. It's not really like I really want to do it, but okay, I'm going to do it because I can see the upside in it, and I don't want to not live up to probably in my mind, some imaginary version of what I feel like people expect for Brittany to do. That shit gets exhausting. It's fine in the beginning, and I feel like you can always find some, not always, but there may be some benefits to some of the stuff, but ultimately, again, it all goes back to when I do a cost-benefit analysis, would I be happier? Would I be more at peace? Would my nervous system be more regulated? Would I have more time to experience this very limited time on earth? Would my relationships with other things that I value suffer more or less? Those are some of the things that I consider now when making decisions, from anything from where I go out to who I meet up with, to organizations that I want to be active and a part of, to anything. And I think everything has seasons. What worked for me 10 years ago when I just got back, I moved back to Miami from New York, is totally different than what will work for me now. At that point, I had just moved back from New York. I was getting myself reacclimated to the city. I grew up in Miami, Florida, but I went away to Penn in Philadelphia at 18. And after graduation, I moved to New York to work on Wall Street, and I lived there for several years. So moving back to Miami, that was my first time being in my city as a young adult, as a professional. So I had to navigate that landscape now as a self-sufficient adult. And I was on super grind mode then, because at that time, and not that I didn't appreciate it, I was Brittany, Daryl Sharpton's daughter. Oh yeah, that's Brittany, Daryl's oldest daughter. That was my identity. And my competitive, overachieving ass wanted to prove that I can stand alone. And don't get me wrong, I still loved and valued that categorization or that relationship, because it's not lost on me that I was exposed to certain things or got certain opportunities because of that. And I see absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's what you're supposed to do for your children. But I also know I had my own gifts. Like, I was my own person. I'm a badass by myself. I'm an even badder ass with all the other, with the support of the people who love you. Absolutely. But I can stand on my own two feet. And I bring that up because at that time I was super involved, making sure that I go to everything, join everything, meet all these people, grind, because I know for me, it was more, I enjoyed doing it too. I had something to prove. Let me let y'all know I'm more than just somebody's daughter, I'm myself. I appreciate more than ever. Never will say I don't appreciate the introductions, the association, the legacy. Absolutely. I'm so grateful. And I know that that is very rare, especially in a Black family in a city like Miami, where people who are not from there don't realize that is a racist ass city. I love my hometown, but Miami is racist as hell. It is very difficult to make it in Miami, Florida as a Black professional. So especially when my parents moved to Miami from Tallahassee, my dad went to Florida State, my mom went to FAMU, to thrive and be a prominent business person and a heavy hitter political fundraiser, even back then, is impressive as hell. So that's something that, don't get me wrong, I am very proud of that legacy. So absolutely, I'm going to want to benefit from all of the hard work and sacrifices that were made. My dad being the chairman of the Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, my dad being the chairman of the Jackson Health Trust, one of the largest health trusts in the nation. As a Black man from Gifford, Florida, country ass Gifford, Florida, oh hell yeah, that's impressive. And I'm so proud of that. But I'm also impressive in my own right. And I wanted to prove that. I felt the need to have to prove that. But now I feel like I've proven myself. Do I think I've reached the mountaintop? Absolutely not. There's so much potential in me. I think that's where a lot of my frustration comes from. So much potential, unrealized potential. And I still grind, and I still have so many exciting ideas that I can't wait to see come to life. But the era of having to be on every board, go to every event, be in every organization, meet every single person, I don't feel the least bit compelled to do all of that now. I'm a lot more selective with my time and my energy. And a gigantic part of that too was I had a very, 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 and this is still an understatement, challenging loss a couple years ago. Almost a couple years ago. It hasn't even been 2 years yet. That completely just devastated me to my core. I'm devastated now. I mean, I will never, ever, 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 ever be the same. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So that's why when I hear these things about bouncing back to what? I don't want to bounce back. I don't, nor can I go back in time. So that Brittany also died. So the only thing that I can do is bounce forward. People always say time heals all. That's one of the biggest lies in this life. No, it doesn't. You will never be healed from having your heart ripped out. Never. That's not true. What time does is allow you to experience other things that grow around your grief. There's this example of a cube, a box, and your grief is a rubber ball in that box. And when your loss first happens, the box is smaller. So it's constantly hitting on the walls and you feel it quite literally every minute of every day. But as time goes on and there's more experiences in your life, the box grows. The box is representative of life and experiences. That grief is the same, but because it has more surface area to cover, it may not hit every minute. It may be once now every hour. And then it gets to the point where it's once a day. But you're never healed from loss like that. And that's another thing I wish people would stop minimizing that pain. But you'll never understand that until you go through something devastating. Never. But that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Your worth is not tied to your circumstances. And even if you are one of the people who genuinely in your core believe that you are superior, or even if you're single and you are just drooling to be a wife, if that makes you a better person and that's what you believe, I can't stop your beliefs. That's cool. That's your own journey that you have to work through. Don't make other people feel worse about it. Like, if that's what you believe, there's some things that just don't need to be said. There are plenty of things that I keep to myself. Like, even this conversation, I never publicly had it because it ruffles so many feathers. It's such an unpopular opinion. And not that I'm afraid of backlash. I've gotten enough of that. It's more so, it's so deeply and heavily ingrained in this society. And the first reaction, if you even fix your mouth to say, anything about a married person, or particularly a woman, it not being all it's chalked up to be, it's immediately met by you're a hater, you're jealous, you're bitter, this is something that you can't accomplish, you're just mad because nobody wants you. It's just wild to me when that's so crazy. And two things can exist at once. That can be something that you want, sure. And I'm not afraid to say it. Would I want that? Yes. If that does not happen, does that mean that I have failed at life? No. And at one time, I really did think that. Like, I really was like, wow, I'm able to accomplish everything else, but damn it, I can't get married. Until one day, my family finally said, Brittany, what the hell are you talking about? And then they named a couple of these guys. These people wanted to marry you. You didn't want to marry them. And I said, you know what? You're right. And then I think about even now. I can pick up my phone right now and entertain the people who want to spin the block, with the caveat or the contingency is I need a ring by the end of this year. And there's an 87.3% chance that would happen. And then look at me, 2026. Oh my gosh, I'm married. Would I be happy? I don't think so. Because if that was the case, I would have gotten with them. And then now, if I really just wanted to get married, how many apps are there? I can go out right now to a bar tonight, go to some event, meet somebody who specifically also just wants to get married and get married to that person. It's not that difficult. You're no better than a single person. Let's just stop it. All right, y'all. My voice is even cracking. This is early in the morning. I've talked enough. Time to make my coffee so I can get my day started. All right. See you next time. And time begins again. Couldn't we be happily ever after?